Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Step by Step. Today we've got Lurantis GX with the Promo Lurantis, and we're going to be facing off with a Gardevoir deck, so I hope you enjoy and we'll go ahead and get started. One of the things that I didn't like about Lurantis GX prior to Guardians Rising release was I felt like I struggled to do enough damage to make the deck effective. I felt like I could accelerate energy really well, I felt like I could heal myself really well, I could evolve really fast, but I just wasn't having the damage output. Well, I think all that has changed now. With the addition of Choice Band and the Promo Lurantis, I really think that we can really hit some damage output numbers that are going to be really effective, and you'll see that in this video. For 1 energy with Lurantis GX, you can use the first attack, Flower Supply, and do 40 damage. Then with the Choice Band, you're doing 70. With 1 Promo Lurantis in play, you're doing 90 damage, so you're two-shotting most EX and GX Pokemon. Also, the format has changed. A lot of people are running Lapras, Groudon, or Greninja to try and counter Gardevoir. And this deck has a really good matchup versus all 3 of those decks. I mean, think about Lapras or even Sylveon for that matter. If they're going to just hammer away all your energies, well, you would just Flower Supply them right back into play, right? So I really think that this is a pretty strong play. There's 2 concerns that I have with it. One, I'm a little bit concerned about the deck versus Gardevoir. I've only gotten to play against Gardevoir 1 time. I didn't record it simply because there was a couple of moves that my opponent made that I felt like didn't really exemplify how good Gardevoir can be. So I felt like it may not have been the best example of a Gardevoir deck. So I didn't record that one, but I lost by 1 prize. So it was super close. But like I said, there was a couple of iffy plays that I think could have changed things if they were done differently. So, and then of course, I'm not sure about Volcanion. Now, against Volcanion, I do run a 1-1 Vaporeon. It might be better to run a 2-2 Vaporeon. But if you have 1 Promo Lurantis in play and a Choice Band attached to Lurantis GX, Flower Supply does 90 damage. And then with the Water Vaporeon, the water, as if there's a non-water Vaporeon, the Vaporeon that turns your stage 1s into water types, that allows you to do 180 damage to Volcanion. So you can actually get one-shots on Volcanion with 1 energy in this deck. It does require some setup with a Lurantis GX, a Promo Lurantis, a Choice Band, and a Vaporeon, but I think that's doable on turn 2 since you run Force of Giant Plants. Also, going back to what I said earlier about the damage output for the deck. If you look at the second attack, Solar Blade, it does 120. And honestly, before this set released, 120 just wasn't cutting it. Now 120 with a Choice Band and a Promo Lurantis doing 170 and healing 30, that's a little different. 2 Promo Lurantis and we're doing 190 and healing 30. That's a lot different. So I definitely think this deck has some potential in the format right now. If it really can't handle Gardevoir, then there's no point. Obviously, look, if you're playing a deck and it can't handle Gardevoir, there is no point. At the moment, at least, in the format. So, I don't know about that matchup. That's the only thing that I'm a little concerned about. And honestly, the reason why I'm not more concerned about Volcanion is because I feel like Gardevoir has a pretty decent matchup versus Volcanion. And I really just don't want to play things that I don't think people in general want to play things that don't have a good matchup versus Gardevoir. Another note on the attacks. Chlorascythe GX is really, without this set, not a good GX attack. 3 energies for 150. Now it does 50 damage times the amount of grass energies you have attached to Lurantis. It'd be awesome if it was attached to all your Pokemon in play. But 50 times to Lurantis. So, 3 energies on it. A GX attack is only doing 30 more damage than the non-GX attack. That's not good. But with this set, you attach a Choice Band, you don't even need a Promo Lurantis in play to do 180. You get a Promo Lurantis in play, and you're doing 200. 2 of them, and you're doing 220. So it does change the math a lot, and it allows Lurantis to get a lot more 1-shots and a lot more early game 2-shots. Now, speaking of 1-shots, we'll get into some analysis of this game, because so far all you've been seeing is my opponent's setup. Look at all his Pokemon go to the bench. So Despair Ray, just in case you've never played against Gardevoir, does 110 damage plus 10 for every Pokemon you discard from the bench. So he discarded 8 to do 190 and played a Kukui to do 210. So we took the first prize by being able to two-shot a Gardevoir, and we then he took the next set of prizes by being able to one-shot my Lurantis. One of the things that I don't like about the Gardevoir deck is that I feel like you always get put in weird spots where you have like one Pokemon in play or two Pokemon in play. And I think this deck probably would have a pretty bad matchup with a Sylveon, right? I mean, well, I guess it just depends on what they do, right? I mean, you'd have to really tamper your damage output. Yeah, because I mean, you run the risk of just getting stuff like Lysandre up a Dragonite and then just like delete the Gardevoir and whatever's on the bench with Plea GX or whatever it's called. Plea or Prairie or Plea Prairie. Yeah, I have no idea what that GX attack is called. I feel like I'm close. So yeah, that's the weird thing about the Gardevoir deck. Like, I feel like you put yourself in risky situations. I mean, it's a strong deck. It's a really good deck. I get that, but definitely weird situations. Another thing that I don't like is that it can't take advantage of Choice Band. I mean, it can, like if you attack with Dragonite or with your basic Gardevoir EX. But I don't know. Decks that can't take advantage of Choice Band seem iffy to me at the moment. Like, I mean, look, right now we're going to hit for 90 and we're set up to get a two-shot next turn. There's really, I mean, he could get another knockout on Lurantis next turn, but he'd have to get super lucky. So yeah, I think we're set up in a good spot at this point, based on what he's got going on. Now he could probably recover the knockout if he were to get a bunch of Dragonites back in play and do a bunch of crazy stuff. So we'll just have to see how this next turn goes. Now this list that I'm playing runs a 2/2 Yanmega, and that's not the list that I'm going to list in the description. I'm going to list in the description the final edit. We're also going to work on the edit for this video at the end of the, or for this deck at the end of the video. So I want you guys to see what this deck looks like when we do the final edits, because there's a couple changes that I make that I think are going to really help versus Gardevoir and even versus Mega Rayquaza. And a couple things for consistency. Yeah, so thankfully Dragonite can't get Dragonite out of the discard pile. That's nice. But Rescue Stretcher getting Dragonite is definitely a boost for this deck. Also, it's kind of nice for this deck. I haven't seen any Tapu Leles in here, but for him to be able to use Tapu Lele for a supporter and then send it away and then Rescue Stretcher it back and then get another supporter, that's kind of nice too. But it's also nice to just do it with Shaymin, honestly. So Despair Ray thankfully isn't going to be a knockout. He's just going to go ahead and hit me for 120 and discard his Dragonite. Now here's where we can have a little bit of fun this turn. We know, looking at the field, I'm hitting for 170. 170 plus 60 obviously is 230, so we know we're getting the knockout on Gardevoir this turn. And we're healing 30 damage. I love Yanmega. I wish I could figure out a deck that it should be played in. I mean, I thought it would be good with a Promo Lurantis, because if you have 4 cards in your hand, then Yanmega's attacks are free. So you could do a bare minimum of 50. If you're against an EX or GX and you have a Choice Band attached, now you're doing 80. You have 2 Lurantis in play, you're doing 120 damage for no energy on a non-EX or GX. I mean, that's awesome. And it can evolve just as quick as Lurantis GX. And if they have a tool card attached, you're doing 120, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Yeah, you're doing 170 for no energy with 1 Promo Lurantis in play if they have a tool card attached and you have your Choice Band. If you have 2 Lurantis in play, you're doing 190 for no energy. That is so good. Like maybe we should just make a dedicated 4/4 Yanmega, 4/4 Lurantis promo deck and work on that too. The only issue there is, like, what if they play around it by not attaching tool cards? You need 3, 4. You need all 4 Promo Lurantis in play to one-shot a Gardevoir if the Gardevoir doesn't have a tool card attached. So let's see. That would be, yeah, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 110, 20, 30. Yeah, you need to have 130. So that's not cool. But you're not playing any energies. So, I mean, you could always run stuff like, I don't know, you could always run stuff like, maybe you could partner it with a thin, well, I don't know. Maybe you could partner it with a Gardevoir just for the mirror match. I mean, that sounds kind of stupid, but maybe you could. I'm sure there's an answer for that. Maybe you could just run a bunch of hammers or a Sylveon or something just to delete stuff off the bench. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's just some sort of answer that you could pair it with for the Gardevoir matchup. But I think Volcanion and Gardevoir would be tough. You'd have to run the Vaporeon line for the Volcanion. Then you'd have to also find an answer for Gardevoir. But I love Yanmega, and I really feel like there's got to be a way to build it to make it work. But I don't think it's in this deck. I think this deck just needs to focus on Lurantis. So he gets the knockout here. Now, with the Promo Lurantis, I have 2 energies on it right now. If I wanted to, I could attack for 120 with a Promo Lurantis, which isn't bad, but I feel like based on what he's got going on, I need to go ahead and get set up for a Lurantis to go ahead and end this game. Thankfully, I got a choice band on the Sycamore. So we're going to be doing 110 damage for 1 energy and accelerating 2 energies here. And we're just playing a couple of these cards in case I get end. I do want to kind of pull things out, thin things out a little bit. Now it is nice to have trainer mail when you get end too. So, but if we can play like the Super Rod and get a couple things in the deck that might help us, I guess I'm not super worried about being end right now. So 1 energy, 110 damage. We'll get 2 energies on the field. And so here I am actually thinking about end with this play. I'm going to put both energies. I'm going to put 3. Okay, so I've got 1 in hand and 3 on the bench. So the reason why I did it this way is because with the bench Lurantis hitting for 120, 120 plus 110 is a guaranteed knockout on the Mega Gardevoir next turn. Now, if he Fairy Drops and heals all that off, then it's a whole nother story. Thankfully, he played a Sycamore. I definitely, like I said, did not want to get end. Now, he's healed all the way down to 10 damage. So, that made things a little bit more interesting. When he played his Sudowoodo, honestly, it got me thinking about Sudowoodo in this deck, and you'll see me. I'm going to include it, actually, when we work on the list here in a minute. Because it just helps versus this matchup, and it helps versus a lot of things. I mean, forcing people to only have 4 bench spots really isn't that bad. But yeah, so unfortunately he can only put out 110. So all we have to do to get the knockout here is Lurantis GX. Before this set, it only does 150 in this spot, which is not good. But after this set, as you can see, we got 2 Promo Lurantis and a choice band for 220 damage. And that's the game. So thank you for watching, guys. Now we're going to get into the deck edit. So I didn't want to make 2 separate videos. I wanted to introduce you guys to the deck and edit it live here for you guys while you're actually watching the video with me. So I appreciate you staying with me to watch the deck editing part. It's coming up here in a moment. As you can see, I've trimmed my amount of decks down to just 4. I like all 4 of these decks, even though I haven't played Umbreon too much. Hey, a Giratina that I'll never play. Or trade, because it's locked. That's always fun. Oh, cool. And I can win a whole nother Giratina by making up the second ladder. Sometimes I'm not a huge fan of the promos, but hey, free is free. Alright, let's work on this list a little bit. So you can see we've got 4 Fomantis and then 3 of each of the Lurantis. I like running 3 of each. I think it makes accessibility a lot better. I'm okay with 3 of the Lurantis GX because if they knock out 3 of them, they win the game, so who cares? And then 3 of the Promo Lurantis because we don't really need to fill up the bench with 4 because then we'll have no access to our GX. I did feel like I wanted to be able to access my basics easier in that match, so I'm adding in a Nest Ball. Let's see what else we can do here to make this deck a little bit better. I don't feel like Yanmega is the right play in this list. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, guys. I was running a 2-2 Yanmega, and I've dropped it to a 1-1 and put in a Sudowoodo and a Nest Ball. I don't think Yanmega is the way to go, so I think we're going to go ahead and remove that from the list now. Okay, cool. So on a side note, there's a couple cool things. Don't forget, Lurantis also boosts the power of fire types. So like if you're having a bad matchup versus Decidueye, you can accelerate grass energies to Charizard with the Lurantis GX, and fire types get a boost from Promo Lurantis. So let's see, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20. Yeah, you'd have to have all three Promo Lurantis in play. But if you have a Lurantis GX active, three Promo Lurantis on the bench, and a Charizard, then Charizard will actually one-shot Decidueyes because you'll be doing 60. Yeah, I just did that math. So you'll be doing 120. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. You'll be doing 120. 3 Lurantis promo is 60 plus 60 is 120, so you do 240. Yeah. So you'll knock out a Decidueye in one hit. Growlithe's kind of gimmicky. I mean, he does 20. Couple Lurantis in play, you can two-shot Decidueye. Flareon, same thing. You can do 180 to Decidueye. I think that's about it. But just a side note, it does boost fire types. Just in case you really need to get that Decidueye matchup changed or more in your favor. I still think you can beat Decidueye with this deck, maybe, without doing that, but we'll have to see. It's hard to run into someone playing Decidueye nowadays on PTCGO. I wish I could have, like I said, a little bit thicker Vaporeon line, but I'm not going to worry about it at the moment. So I'm thinking here of ways to make the deck more consistent. You can see the full list, and the list will be in the description here. This final edited list will be in the description. I really feel like we could drop the 1/1 Yanmega, put in maybe another Trainer Mail and a Tapu Lele. I think that would be nice. That's probably about the best edit that we actually could do at this point. So let's see here. Yeah, I could pull out a Super Rod. I could pull out a Super Rod and add in a Lysandre. That'll help me be a little bit more consistent in targeting the things that I need to target. Super Rod's not really, the end of the world. I've got 2 Revitalizers, and I'm pulling the energies out with Flower Supply anyway, so I don't think Super Rod is incredibly needed. So I'm liking the way that this looks. The Yanmega's still throwing me off. I felt like I never had the bench space to get it down. And a 1/1 is always hard to get out anyway, so let's go ahead and take that out. So we can increase the nest ball count to 2, but then we can also add in a Tapu Lele. I think that looks pretty good. We could also just increase the Trainer Mail count to 4 and only play 2 nest ball. We'll pause the video here. Yeah, so we could also just drop the nest ball count to 1 and play 4 Trainer Mail. I think I like that too. So that's it, guys. I really appreciate you watching the video. I hope you subscribe. I hope you like it. I hope you stay tuned. I'm always going to try to give you guys some good ideas. Yeah, we'll keep working on this list a little bit, and we'll also maybe try a Yanmega Promo Lurantis deck as well. And when Tapu Bulu becomes legal, I'm going to be doing Tapu Bulu Lurantis on here. At the moment, aside from Gardevoir Trevenant, it is my top pick for what to play at Nats, or whatever you want to call it, Intercontinentals. I like calling it Nats still, though. So that's my top pick at the moment. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed, like I said, and thank you for watching. And always remember, when you're playing Pokemon, to have fun. Thank you.